What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so um, look, yesterday the Indiana Fever defeated the Connecticut Sun in the WNBA. Now, I didn't see this game, but I'm assuming that DeJounte Carrington was matched up against Caitlin Clark. And one of these fans, and believe you me, this is not just an isolated, fluke incident. These types of things have been going on for quite some time. Maybe not as prominently, but in comments and in other means. These types of things have been going on for quite some time since the rise of Caitlin Clark. So some disgusting Neanderthal, ignorant, bigoted, racist fan put up a meme, I guess, to signify Caitlin Clark's domination of the matchup. And Caitlin Clark's face is superimposed on Derek Chauvin's body, and DeJounte Carrington's face and head, are superimposed on you know whose body. And we all know what this is supposed to symbolize. Okay? This is some of the casual racism that we often see aimed at us, right? But when we speak out about it, we're often gaslighted and told things like, man, stop making such a big deal out of it. He's just an idiot. Move on. Stop making. Somehow we become the people who are making too much of it, making a mountain out of a molehill. Meanwhile, every other group in this country, if they even get the inkling that you mean something against their group, see how the fallout is. See if one of these people say something about the small hats. See if one of them say something about, the little people from ancient West origins. Say something about the Desi Arnaz of the world and the Salvador Belinkos of the world. Say something about them people and see what happens. They know that collectively we don't have the power, we don't have the structure that other groups have to make you pay for that. Not usually. Not without the collective help of others. And this is no, so look, this was actually sent to this young woman. And she called it out. I believe her response was that this is sick and that I can't believe that they are equating the murder of this person to a basketball game. And she's right. She's absolutely 100% correct. And this is partially why people often say, why don't I give Caitlin Clark her due? And part of it is because her fan base, just like LeBron fans, are starting to get on my nerves. See, some of you have a blind spot to that. You have a big, huge, gaping 15th year veteran porn star roast beef, lipped labia, open gate, blind spot to it. You somehow you're not seeing what I'm seeing. You know what I'm saying? I don't, whatever. And I'm sorry. I will give her praise to a certain extent. But her fan base just makes it hard for people like me to root for Caitlin Clark. Yes, on some conscious level, on some subconscious level, sometimes I do want to see her team lose. I don't want to see her fail. But yeah, I do. I'm human. Yeah. And you could also argue, why don't people like her and LeBron James, who see their fan base getting out of control, look, Why don't you say something about it? You have the power of social media. We keep hearing about how powerful these athletes are today. But they seem to be too afraid to go on their social media platforms and just at the very least say, look, I don't condone any of this foolishness. I don't want fans who are rooting for me based on some ideology. Root for Caitlin Clark because you like her as a basketball player, not because she represents some insidious ideology or she's the physical embodiment of some disgusting, perverse, sadistic ideology that you adhere to. That's what some people are using her as, a weapon. I don't want to hear nothing about, oh man, you making it about. I'm tired of hearing that because I know what I see on social media all the time. I know I see it all the time. And for everybody to keep talking about, I see the little sneak distance some people do where, oh well, you know, certain people are always complaining about something, but it's the group, you know, it's their problem, and it's you know, you know. I be seeing all the stuff some people be putting out there. Let me just say this. I'm one of the biggest supporters of the old school when it comes to NBA. I've been on here for over a decade preaching about people like Jerry West, preaching about Bob Pettit, George Mikan, Jerry Lucas, you know what I'm saying, Jack Twyman, Pete Maravich. I was one of the first ones saying that Pete Maravich's numbers should be retired by the Hawks, which ultimately happened. I was one of the first ones on here talking about how George Mikan, his numbers should be retired by the Lakers. It finally happened. I like to think people like me and others have some sort of impact. Who on here does more than me? I mean, people have larger platforms, but who on here talks more about John Stockton and how people who underrate him are actually, you know what I'm saying, using the opposite reverse. They judging him based upon his skin color. You know what I'm saying? So to have people come on here and say that somehow I'm being biased because of that or skin color, you need to look at your fan base. Look at her fan base and look at the things that they be saying. Another thing that gets on my nerves too is how the media is culpable in this. The media, by not calling this stuff out, by not addressing it, are in effect condoning this stuff. The only people that I've seen talking about this are fringe sports sites and TMZ. They're not a sports site, right? They have a sports section, but they're not primarily a sports site. But it's interesting that ESPN will talk about, you know, something that Dennis Rodman said 35 years ago. It's interesting that ESPN will talk about something that Kyrie Irving posted on his Instagram, a link to a movie, and how they made it about something that had nothing to do with that. See, it's funny how they can play that game with us. But when there's a picture of, say, Jerry Jones at a very, very infamous moment in American history in the 50s, everybody runs to defend him. Where were these same people defending Kyrie Irving? Where were these same people defending Michael Irvin, even some of his co-workers? They used the old BS about, oh, well, that's a company matter. I thought you said your podcast, you know, you can speak freely. But anyway, it's also disgusting how her other players like Carrington, they don't get any shine from the mainstream media. Aja Wilson is the best player in the WNBA, yet she's not a household name. True, fine, yeah. You know, you can argue that the fans have to be introduced to the WNBA. and it's going to take some time. But ESPN or BSPN and Fox Noise, they're not even attempting to push these players. Create narratives where, you know what I'm saying, other players are getting into storylines so fans can become familiar with them. It's just the same thing they were doing with LeBron, they're doing with Caitlin Clark. The only thing about it is these other players, unlike LeBron's co-stars, or not co-stars, but contemporaries in the NBA, they're making millions of dollars. They've been well compensated. These other players, they're not, you know what I'm saying, sharing any credit. So they're trying to make her out to be the savior. Fine. Okay. But promote some other talent. DeJounte Carrington had a monster game back in June for the Sun against the Fever, right? Vastly outplayed Clark. Do you know what the YouTube video was headlined, what it showed? Carrington mocks Clark for foul. Didn't even promote her game. Didn't even promote she's a good player. And this is the problem I have. This is why I try to promote other WNBA players, because the media is creating bitterness and resentment amongst the players, because all they do is talk about one particular player. And then if you say something about it, people say you hating on her. No, I'm calling out the BS for what it is. While it's not directly impacted by Caitlin Clark, but all the noise around her is causing disharmony. You're getting to a point now, you can't even guard Caitlin Clark. You can't even play her physical. You want her to get all of this praise and adulation without having to work for it. Somewhat similar to how the left-wing media wants to hand things to Kamala Harris. How they want to hand things to LeBron James. People don't have to work for a thing. Don't have to work for a goddamn thing no more. If you guard her hard, you get death threats on social media. If you foul her, Lord have mercy. You know, these same people talk about how they want physicality back in the league, but then when you play physical and you offer them a league where, hey, it's something like defense being played, you can't do it on her. She's the princess. So, you know, it is what it is, man. This stuff is going to continue, unfortunately. It's going to continue because ESPN, Fox Noise, I'm talking about Fox Sports, they're not addressing it. They're ignoring it. Make these people uncomfortable. Call it out. Put a spotlight on them. That's the only way this stuff can be somewhat deterred. And also, I gotta say that I'm all for free speech. Everybody that knows me knows I hate censorship. But ever since Elon Musk took over X, it's become a haven for this type of stuff. A haven. I try to ignore it, man, as best I can, but some of this stuff is ridiculous, man. And then the last thing I want to say before I end this video is, while I don't appreciate what the movement turned into, this is why the slogan Black Lives Matter was used. Because it goes to show you that subconsciously, a lot of these people over there that have this mentality, they don't value Black lives. They think it's funny. They think the whole specter of what happened to you-know-who is a joke. Last I checked about the guy whose her head is superimposed on, there's a video that's been up for 4 years now. And it's probably still on YouTube, of a man urinating on a picture of that guy. Matter of fact, no. It's not a picture of him. It's a piece of paper with his name written on there. He's actually urinating on it. And that video has still been up last I checked. Last I checked, it's still up. Meanwhile, sometimes content creators get their content taken down if they say certain words that offend certain people and certain groups. But you can say nigga on here all day. But anyway, that's all I got to say about it.